If I was to say the word painting, which of the most famous paintings would be the first to pop into your head? I bet I can predict that many people would instantly think of the Mona Lisa by Leonardo da Vinci. Well, this half-length portrait, which took Leonardo 5 years to complete, has charmed people all over the world for centuries. It has been defined as the best known, the most visited, the most written about, the most sung about, and the most parodied work of art in the world. In Italy, where I was born and where I'm currently based, the Mona Lisa has a darker connotation. In fact, it's been used by populists as a symbol for the traditional hostilities between Italy and France. The general thought behind it is that the Mona Lisa is an important part of Italian cultural heritage and it was stolen by France. Some even claim it was Napoleon who stole it. Well, these people also say that it should be returned to Italy where it belongs. Actually, these claims are simply not true, and yet another example of how art can be used to nurture unfounded hostilities. And that we should be careful about that. Yes, Leonardo da Vinci was Italian. Yes, the man who commissioned the Mona Lisa was Italian. His name was Francesco del Giocondo, and the sitter was his wife. It took Leonardo 5 years to complete the painting. And like I said, he finished it in 1507. But he never sold it to Francesco del Giocondo, partly because he saw it as a work of conceptual art rather than a mere portrait. It's hard to disagree, and many have written works where they support such theses. Just recently, a research concluded that the much talked about smile of the Mona Lisa is fascinating because it's not a fully formed smile, but a smile in the process of becoming one that owed a lot to Leonardo's quote-unquote quick eye. Because Leonardo realized its worth, he kept it with him and traveled with it in 1511 when he went to France after being called by the king himself. Now, Leonardo spent his final years in France, and when he died there, his assistant Salai, who is also known as being his lover, inherited the painting. It was Salai who rightfully sold it to King Francis I, the King of France, for 4,000 gold coins, and thus the Mona Lisa has rightfully been kept by the French government since then. The only exception occurred in 1911 when a worker of the Louvre named Vincenzo Peruggia stole it and took it back to Italy. This is the only actual known case of the painting being stolen, and it was an Italian who stole it from the French. The Mona Lisa was thought lost for some years until in 1913 Peruggia was discovered and arrested after attempting to sell it to a gallery in Florence for the equivalent of $100,000. Not a lot of money if you ask me. When the arrest was made, the Italian state returned the painting to France and it has been housed in the Louvre ever since. However, Italy did try and occasionally does try to have its masterpiece returned. Notable figures joined in the battle cry, not necessarily all Italian. In fact, in support for this cause, George Clooney spoke out, and of course he resides in Italy by Lake Como. Indeed, France may have considered returning the Mona Lisa to Italy had it not been for the fact that the painting is far too fragile to be moved. Well, at least that's what they say. But I don't see why they should return it. France rightfully bought the painting, so it doesn't need to return anything. In any case, I don't particularly think that those who call for the Mona Lisa to be returned actually have the interest of the artwork itself in mind. Actually, there have been cases of artworks from countries taken by other countries, particularly during several of the European wars, and I don't hear much being said about them having to be returned. I mean, Europe was plagued by wars for centuries, and the one thing that put a significant stop to that was the establishment of the European Union, which is maligned by the vast majority of the people who ignorantly claim that the Mona Lisa should be returned to Italy, but who have no idea of how the Mona Lisa ended up in France in the first place. In any event, I actually see the presence of artworks of different origins scattered all over Europe, or the world for that matter, as important cultural bridges that should unite people rather than inspire hostilities.